Today's episode was brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks, PopChevy.com, and the Kent Rose Foundation. This episode is also brought to you by TheForkEnd.com. Today we welcome special guest, Tommy Jackson.
Okay, Harold, we got a really good friend here today. I know you guys go way back. That does a whole lot of things we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to let you make this introduction.
Well, we're so honored to have Tommy Jackson from Florida and First Note Music Company with us. Tommy he's just not a music guy. I would call him a frustrated music guy because
we're all frustrated.
I was going to say that.
He makes his living handling other people's money, over $1 billion of that, and I met him about 25 years ago. I wish I had met him 50 years ago, but it didn't. But I think about it, and I try to relate it to when I first decided to leave the farm, and I remember sometimes at night there'd be a knock on the door, and it would be somebody that would say, "Mr. Shedd," talking to my dad. He'd say, "I'm stuck in this mud down by Panther Creek Bridge. Could you think you could help me get out?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I'll help you." And so I would get up with my daddy, and we would get the mules, hitch them to the wagon, go down to where this guy was stuck, and take a chain, tie it to his car. The mules would pull him out of the mud. Cool. So that's how I think of Tommy. When we started, he came along and pulled me out of the mud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So it put me on solid ground, and he's kept me there for 25 years, and I'm grateful for that. And that is to say, Tommy is not just a great guy. He is an incredible speaker. Mm-hmm. He's a mentor. He's a teacher. Yep. And he started author now. Thank you. And he started a little company called First Note Music, which is a great name for
Absolutely.
A publishing company. And he has hundreds of songs now. And I don't know how many, but a lot of them have been used in movies, soundtracks, commercials, and all of the. I'm sure he'll get into that as he tells us about how he started and what he did and what he's doing now. So with all of that, I want to say welcome to an extremely talented man and a very special friend, Tommy Jackson.
Yeah, man.
Thank
Welcome,
you so
Tommy.
much. I'm going to stick with this first part. I think he just called me his jackass. What's his name?
Yeah.
I'm the mule that pulled him out of the mud.
You did.
Yeah.
Behind the shed.
Yeah.
And you're actually clean after doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so honored to be here.
We won't call you Old Red.
Yeah.
What a great song. Man, I cannot thank you enough, Russ. I've known you for a long time, a little while as well. But Harold and I go back to so many great memories. And Wade, such an honor to have known you the last couple years and your talent. And it just continues growing by the day of what you can do. But man, Harold, we have been the journey.
We've seen it all.
You said you should have met me sooner. I don't think he would have listened to me. Do you, Russ?
I don't know.
It's been a ride, and I've been fortunate enough to manage his money since about 2000, somewhere right in there. And we've seen him go from all the aspects of what he's done in leadership. And I was sitting here watching the behind the shed scene with your last guest, and I was saying, and I told my buddy that's with me, when the mic turned to Harold, there's a star. I mean, every time it turns to Harold, there's a star. And that's what he really was teaching me along the way. And I've just learned so much from him. And I think you're born for something, and he was born for music. And for you guys to capture this history, I think the world is going to be captivated by not only so much that you've done, but what is a star? And that's what you always told me. They got to have the it factor. And it's hard to determine what is the it factor. And it's so easy to see that he had the it factor and the ability to pick the its.
Absolutely.
For whatever the role, whether it be a publisher, whether it be an artist, whether it be, the person running the bus, he always was picking the right pieces. So I think he's the ultimate coach for music.
I really do too. No doubt about it. Absolutely. Well put, for sure. So I think as we move on here, Tommy, you do so many things. We always are interested in hearing, how did you get over here? I mean, you do so many things. How in the world you go from money management to the music business to all the stuff you're doing? What led you on that path?
I mean, life has a way of leading you to paths. I believe in seasons of life. I always have. And I'm willing to embrace a season, but I'm willing to leave a season as well. And so the season that really led me to Harold, I grew up, my brother's 6 years older than me. He got his first record deal when he was 16, 17 years old in Nashville.
Wow.
And so music was his life. He was my big brother. I just wanted to be like him. So he taught me so much about music. I got to see the music. I mean, Keith Urban was a guitar player at one point. Tommy Shaw of Styx was a guitar player at one point. Beth Nielsen Chapman was writing with him when she was 14, 15 years old. Jeff Carlisi, 38 Special, Mickey Thomas, we're not capping. There's just the people that we were hanging out with. Right. And as a young guy, I was able to see the business at such a big stage, but I was also able to see the pain of the business, the real pain of the business. And so as a young brother watching all of those things, he found himself down in Florida just to get away and to kind of clean up his whole mindset and everything else, and fell in love with a girl. They started playing a club down there. I started managing him. And quite frankly, I feel guilty kind of ruining his career. I managed his deal to where we had a percentage of the club. So back in 1980 through 12 years, six-piece band was doing somewhere around $125,000 a piece. Wow. So we really couldn't do a deal. And Harold stumbled in one day and sees this incredible band and these great musicians and everything else. And he and Tim become unbelievable buddies. I was managing money, Jackson Wealth Management. I was managing the money. And Harold goes, I might need a money guy. And that kind of started a 26-year journey of a money guy and a music guy falling in love with each other and pushing each other. And then, unfortunately, he said, just never make the mistake of getting in music. And I said, if I got to get in it.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
I got to get in it. Yeah. So I've been, we opened up First Note in 2010 and did the whole publishing, writing, country music, all kind of music. And then I guess about 15 years ago, I started predominantly doing film and TV. Wow. The world they call sync.
Right. Which is difficult at best. It's hard. It's a hard business, and you've done pretty good at it.
We've done well.
Can you explain what the sync business is? Because a lot of people throw that term around on this podcast, and the general public, really doesn't know what that business is.
That's right.
I mean, being, a business person first, the sync business felt more at home with me than any other part of music. Harold and Russ did the most difficult thing you can do, and that's find talent, develop talent, recognize songs, produce songs, and then it's all left up to the stars, so to speak. In the sync world, all it means is you're synchronizing something to something. It's just synchronization. That's where that came from. Mm-hmm. Well, in the music world, you're synchronizing and matching up music to film and TV. So no matter if you turn on your TV, there's never any dead sounds behind it. There's always some ambience, whether it just be a keyboard playing or a song playing. And so if you're selling, a Nike shoe, they want to make sure that you're having an experience. They're going to match music that'll make you feel a certain way, act a certain way. And so they'll try to synchronize music to that commercial. Yep. You're a great filmmaker. You're always wanting to sit there and synchronize music to your scenes to bring them to life, whether it be sad, whether it be happy, whether it be, so everything from cinematic to drama to creepy, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we found out is in the movie world and in the commercial world, they're going to have a music director that's going to sit there and actually, which you know well, you can even talk about that. They're going to sit there and take each one of those scenes and cut them into it and decide what music they want on it. Usually they use stars, big stars music. They can't afford that licensing fee. It makes the price of the commercial go up too much. It makes the price of the movie go up too much. Once they found that scene and once they found that song, they'll reach out to a music supervisor and say, match this song as good as you can for this scene. Well, then they come to people like us, and we represent something like 60 artists and 10,000 plus songs. They're going to sit there and going to say, do you have anything like this? Like on the way up here today, they reached out and said, we're looking for love songs that are cinematic, and gave us an example of the song. Now we'll go through our database, just like you did as a publisher, trying to match a song to an artist. And we'll go through our database, and then we'll pitch them, just like we did pitching music. We'll pitch them. The only difference is it's our relationship. Because that business is so tight, they're only going to trust a certain group of people to pitch them songs, because they have to have clean licensings and they have to have it quick.
Yep.
So most of the time when they say they want a song, we have about 3 hours to find that song and turn it around.
Wow.
So I already have to have all the publishing done.
Everything
I have to
cleared.
have the arranging,
Yep.
everything cleared. It's called one stop. So there's only a small group of us that they trust that says they have all the licensing stuff clear. We just need to match a song. That felt like business to me. That felt like what I've always done. So from that point, then it was just relationship. So you build a relationship with NBC, Netflix, Viacom, whoever you want to build the relationships with, and then it's a phone call. So they'll reach out to us directly and say, we're looking for this scene. Do you have anything? Our biggest deal is if we don't waste their time. We don't send them songs.
Yep.
So it's about relationship building. It really is.
That's great.
Absolutely. It's such a specialized thing now, as he's telling you, having relationships and stuff. In the 80s and the 90s, the business I came up in, and the Herald was in too, the way you got sync was have a hit record. It wasn't as specialized as it is today, and then everybody wanted to use it for something. And it turned into a thing now where there's so much visual and so much sync to do that you have to understand that business. It's like me knowing pick somebody. Barbara Mandrell would sing in 1980. I need to know what she wanted and what she'd do before I go to see her and play her songs. And it's the same thing. They have a trust in him because he does it and has built those relationships and kind of knows where to go with it. So it's a very specialized business.
It speaks its own language. It's still great music. It's still great songs. It's very competitive. It's not like you just throw them a bunch of songs.
Right.
I mean, it's really very competitive, and you got to write hits.
Yep.
It's a hit for sync.
Right.
Won't play on the radio, but you
Right.
got to write hits.
Yep.
Because the competition is out there pretty heavily. And the other side of it is for the independent artists, they have a leg up. And the reason they have a leg up is I have my normal publishing company where you take somebody like Leroy that was just on the show, and he has a publishing deal, and then I write with one of Russ's writers, and he has a publishing deal, and then we do a third write, and they're with Universal. Well, I'm going to have to get that cleared through Russ, Leroy's team, and Universal, and I got to do it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Got zero chance.
Yep.
Zero chance. So what you do is you find self-published writers and artists, independents, that aren't on deals, that control their own music, and then you can sit there and do a deal with them and say, we will represent you and represent you well, but we need control of this song for licensing, not ownership or publishing,
Right.
licensing, and then they can call me. Well, I can make that decision for them. I'm not sitting there calling Universal going, hey, we got 2 hours to see if we can get this on Tyler Perry's movie.
Correct.
So it's an advantage for the independent artists over the major artists, except for, and this is where you're talking about, the very big syncs, the Nike commercials of the world. They're going to reach out and try to get branding. So they want associated branding. So they want Michael Jackson to have done the Pepsi commercial.
Right.
It's a whole different price point, negotiated in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because commercials used to, they would have jingle writers.
Yep.
They would hire talent, go in,
Yep.
studio time, and they spent a lot of money just to get a jingle.
Which Harold was in that business for years.
Yeah,
Yeah. And knowing what to go for.
Yeah, tough business.
Yep.
There was a company. You familiar with Ingersoll Rand?
Absolutely.
There was another company called Sull Air, Sulair, and they knew that I was doing commercials and stuff. and I was working with Scotty Turner at the time. He brought me to Nashville, and he said, "We need a jingle written for Soul Air." Well, how the hell do you write a jingle about an air tank, you know? But while it's a challenge, you got to get in there and you got to figure out what they want in a short length of time then, even back then. But we did. And Scotty was a genius. And so we wrote a jingle for Soul Air, you know, and they accepted it. Yeah. And
it can be big money.
I can't sing it to you, but, you know.
I was going to ask, do you still remember?
No, I don't.
I know that we had Greg Barnhill writing with us, and he would write the jingles, and it was donuts. You know, you write the beginning, you give all the space so they can come on and sell their product, and then you write the ending. And there's people who just sit there and just do that world, and that jingle world is a little different than the overall sync world. But back to stuff like you that you were talking about, there's so many things that you have taught me, and I say that not just being on the podcast. There's so much wisdom that people, if they binge watch this thing, and they should, if I had a company that was just starting out now, if I was a writer that was struggling with AI and all those other kind of scary things, the jewels that you have built, the principles that you built in music, if I would have followed all those principles versus going on my own, it would have saved me, 7 figures of money, investments. But you taught me so many great, valuable lessons. And all the way down from how to find a star to how to find a song. And you were right there with him. He's the ultimate song man. I mean, how many songs did you... I want to ask you, how many songs have you had cut?
I honestly don't know. I know one year, we had Jim Zumwalt in here today, and Zumwalt had started a publishing company with EMI in 1991 or 92, and they didn't get any cuts in like 2 years. And he called me, he said, "How many cuts did you have this year?" And we had a cut board we kept, not digital.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I said, I don't have to count them, and I counted them up, and I called him back, and I said, it was like 350 that year. It was a lot. They weren't all singles, but they got cut on albums. That was a different business back then. Don't forget.
No, I get it.
And he said, "How do you do that?" And I said, "Well, I think we've gotten pretty good at it. But the thing is, it's like you do everything too, and like he did it. It's all we did. We lived and ate and breathed it the same way, the same passion you go after stuff with. It's no different. Everybody doesn't do that, but it's the same thing. And I got to tell you, I say it all the time. I was pretty damn lucky. I got to tell you, I backed into as many things as I aimed for. I think proximity, and as you're talking about sync, if there's any young songwriters watching that are hearing about sync, you'll probably get 1 million calls. The proximity, if you get in the middle of it and you're close to it, you have an outlet to go do it with. And you're doing that with the sync stuff. Like you said, you've already made these relationships and connected. So there's a whole lot of that too, as you know.
100%.
I can't, if they bring me the same thing for sync and they bring it to you, who you think is going to place it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Harold taught me, like, there's like certain principles, like what are some of those principles? And he was the ultimate song man, and you were as well. And when I heard of how many number ones that he had, I was blown away.
Me too.
And y'all can give the numbers because I'll misquote them, but I was blown away. That wasn't the most interesting stat to me, and I'd love for you to talk about it. It's how many songs you brought to your artist that they turned down that ended up being 1, 2, or 3 for other artists.
Yeah.
Big number.
Yeah.
Maybe 60 something.
That's just for Alabama.
For Alabama, yeah.
I mean,
That's just for Alabama.
But at that time, I had at one time, I either had signed and or produced 12 of the biggest acts in country, I guess, ever. And so they all made at least one album a year, so you're talking about lots of songs. And every song is not for every artist. It's you got to match it. You got to put the right song with the right artist. You got to have the right song for your sing.
100%.
And it's somewhat like that.
I would pitch him songs, and you know this. I would pitch him songs, and I would watch his. This is another thing. Don't waste your time with people. You read their body. Read their body and don't push your bad stuff on them and make them have a bad day. You want that ear. I want you to want me to come back in your office and let me pitch you a song.
Yeah.
And I would watch Harold's foot, and if that foot didn't start tapping, I was fast forwarding. I was clicking as fast as I possibly could because his foot told me everything I wanted to know about. And then he had the patented line, Tommy, I think that's probably a pretty good song for somebody.
Yep.
And I knew that meant he hated it. And I just went on. He was such a diplomat to say, no, sounds like a good song for somebody.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how intimidated I was.
I can't turn them down.
Before I got, came to work with him and stuff. But yeah, it's all about that. It's all about a song always, he's that way. You're that way. I'm that way. If it doesn't move me, I don't care if I think I can place it 100 places. I got to have something that's going to move me. Yeah, man.
And then you got a lot of outlets for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So you're doing wealth management. You get in the publishing business, and started playing with that some. What? Maybe you didn't say it earlier. I didn't quite catch it. What made you go after the sync business? That's such a hard business. How did you go? Man, we're going to do sync. I know you said it was a business decision, but why so?
Well, it's one of those things where my brother was writing with me, and the biggest deal was he was playing down in Florida. He had gotten married. He had run the whole course. I'd gotten him a cush job, playing a club every night. He was living really a family life. Wife, kids, and the wife decides she likes somebody else more than him. And he started back writing, right?
That'll make you do it.
He started back writing. Get somebody broken, you got you a country song, right? And he and Zach Turner, you remember Zach, Watermelon Crawl and all that stuff. And he and Zach started writing down there. And they were just really good country songs. One of those songs that you said, one of these days, I got to cut that song before I quit doing song stuff.
Yeah.
And he was playing, and Lee Bryce came in the club, and they came over. Liz Moran was with him. Rhonda was with him. And they were listening. And afterwards, they came up and said, man, y'all are really, really good. And I just wonder, like, you played a song in that set, and I can't remember who cut it, but man, it's such an amazing song, and it's faithful to a memory. How long do I have to be faithful to a memory?
Oh, good idea.
Right? And it's a beautiful song. I'll play it for you, this week as we travel. And he said, I know that song. Tim says, no, you don't know that song. And he said, yeah, I do. Tim said, no, I wrote that. Nobody's ever heard it. And he said, you wrote that song? And he said, yeah, that entire set was all my songs. And he said, who are you? He said, I'm the guy you used to be. I've been where you are right now. I know your story. I know where you're going to end up. And so Lee and Liz took a CD back. And when he did, Tim said, they've taken my CD. I said, Tim, you can't go down that way again. You've had so many bad deals. I'm just going to open up a publishing company. I'll put you on a salary. We hired Greg Barnhill, got some A writers. You got us in with Larry Shell, and that's when they just had their number one. He took 5 of the 10 songs, and then, of course, Broken Bow and that whole story we won't get into, but that was my beginning of that whole world. And so if I'm doing anything, like you said, I'm doing it big. I wish I'd have hired you. But I
wish I had it too. I spent a few lean years. No, I'm kidding.
I hired a group of people, and I got 2 pluggers. I ended up getting a staff of 8 writers, and I was spending a lot of money doing a lot of demos I shouldn't do. I wasn't as good as picking hits, and you fall in love with the studio. I fell in love with the studio. I cut more songs than you could possibly imagine.
We've all done that. Go ahead.
And so I was doing that whole grind. We were having some hits and all those things, and I was hearing songs on radios, and I was getting all that stuff, but I still committed to Jackson Wealth Management. That was my full-time grind. And I had this guy. I was in Las Vegas. And I had this guy that I'd signed to a deal. And it's so funny you said that about the time of the year. And we were pushing this deal. There were some people interested in him. And I said, I'm going to release this record, but I'm a numbers guy. We're going to release this record in the 2nd or 3rd week of November because everybody's stopping because Christmas music's coming up. And I knew we had that spot in there that was a dead spot. And I said, we're going to do 7 concerts We're going to make everybody gets a ticket. They're going to also have a CD attached. Can't sell a single. I can sell a record. I've looked at the numbers. CDs aren't selling much because of, digital and all that stuff. And we're going to do 7 shows, sometimes 2 a day. We're going to do everything pre-sold, and everything's going to come into this week. Nobody's going to be. It's a math equation. It's stuff I learned from you, and we did, and it literally came in at number 16.
Wow.
On Billboard.
Wow.
Country.
Wow.
Then I went and put all that on everybody's desk. Nobody seemed that interested, and I said, "We're done. Everybody knows about you. We've discovered what's left is me and you." We were kind of winding that deal down. He's a great artist, and he's a hard worker. And I'm out in Las Vegas, and I get a phone call, and they said, "Hey, we got one of your songs, on this TV show." And I said, "Who are you?" And they told me who they were. I said, "Not one of my songs." I said, "What song?" He told me. I said, "Don't know the song." He said, "Well, you signed the contract with us." I said, "I didn't sign a contract with you." He said, "Yeah, you did." I said, "Look, just text it over to me." I look, First Note Entertainment. I look, we've got this deal done in these songs. And I look, and there's my name, but it's not my signature. And my signature was forged on a sync deal by this artist. So I called the artist up and said, "You're no longer working with me. I don't know what's going on. When I fly back home, I'm going to Nashville, sit down with these guys." And I sat down with them, and we had like 15 songs we had done with them that I didn't know about. One of them was written about my life, called Made for This. And I said, "Man, I'm just made for this." People say, "Why do you do what you do?" It's like, man, I'm just made for this. If I see something, I'm going to push the wall down, I'm going to climb over it, I'm going to pray it through, I'm going to do something. But this life I live, man, I was just made for this. And they went and made this crazy, great song. And I said, "Here's the deal. We're going to get out of this. I'm no longer going, you're not going to work for us anymore. We're done. But I want it to be right. I'll give you all your publishing back. I'll give you all your writer's share back. But there's 3 songs that you have with these people, and one of them's about me. And I'm going to take that song, and once it's made X number of dollars, then I'll split publishing with you. But we're going to negotiate this thing out and get out of it." Lo and behold, that song ended up being the Today's theme song for over 18 months.
Wow.
And it made several $100,000.
Wow.
And
I
went, "You can make money in sync? I'm all in." So then I changed the formula, learned a lot about it, hired some really, really smart people, including Andrew that's with me today. He's helped us run it. And we started really understanding what that language was, what that business model was. And then we did go all in, and we went all into sync. And now we've been able to have hundreds of songs, and I don't even know how many. It's back to, like you said, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs on film and TV. And my brother just had one on the latest Tyler Perry movie. And,
way to go.
So it's still doing stuff for my brother, which is why I got music to begin with.
Right.
That's cool. A TV theme's made more money than any song.
Oh, yeah.
The Jeopardy theme, 80
Oh,
million.
my gosh.
80 million.
Yeah. Well, you know the story. I'll be real brief. When they were looking for a theme song for the Tonight Show for Johnny Carson, they were trying to find something, and Paul Anka wrote the theme song and sent it to Johnny Carson, and it said, "Written by Johnny Carson," and he as a co-writer. Yeah, man. In those days, he was making $2,500 every time they played a piece of it on the show.
Yeah.
In sync back then. It was network stuff, you know. But that's the way sync worked back then. What he's doing is like a whole different deal. It's like being a biophysicist or a medical doctor. I'm a medical doctor in the publishing business, or was. He's in biophysics. It's kind of the same thing, but not at the same time. They're both science, but that's a whole different thing. It's, and to be good at it is really, really hard. He's committed to it and done very well with it, but it's, different thing.
And you've got lanes. You've got the promo lane. You've got the made-for-motion picture lane. You have your reality TV show lane. And you kind of match those up with the artists and stuff. But I learned so much with Harold about a song, about the business. Mm-hmm. I can remember going into a club, and they were doing a showcase for him. And, we sat there and we listened to 2 songs. And he said, "It's time to go." And I thought we just had gotten here. It's like, no, I've seen enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So we get back in the car, and I don't know if you remember this. And I said, the girl was pretty good, right? And I said, "What made you make a decision after 2 songs?" He said, Tommy, don't ever look at the stage. I said, sir? He said, don't ever look at the stage. He said, I was looking at the crowd, and she didn't hold their attention for 2 songs. She sure is not going to be a star.
Yep.
Look at the crowd. So to this day, I look at the crowd because that's what he said. If that crowd loses its attention, you don't have a star. You just have a song.
You got a song.
Yep. Well, we talked about that the other day, about Billy Ray.
Yeah.
Harold saying, you could tell, and I quote you again, when he walked in the room, you could tell he had been touched by the master's hand, and I quote Harold. There was just a thing, It's
he
like,
had that. He had the it.
Yep.
Whatever the it is.
Whatever
that
is.
I talked about, the it that you have. I literally was telling Andrew, I said, when we're sitting here listening to everybody, and obviously Leroy's a superstar, you got unbelievable credibility in the music business of Wade, but when Harold opened up his mouth and you heard the voice, you heard the mic, and you heard the storytelling, and you heard the wisdom, I looked at Andrew and I said, he still has it.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that's what cut through Nashville.
Well, but that's like saying for a guy like that having it, he still got his right arm. It's innate. It's in him. Exactly. You're right. Yeah.
I don't have those 2 mules anymore.
Just the jackass having it out front.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, so you're doing that stuff. How did you balance? I mean, wealth management sounds like a pretty complicated thing. I know a little bit about it, but they're 2 totally different things. How did you balance doing all that stuff and putting the music thing together?
Well, what was super crazy, at the same time I was coaching high school football and giving my salary back to the school. It's about really having a discipline and a process to what you want to accomplish in your life. And so I know that I want to balance life. And I know that we only have, we have 2 things in common. We're all breathing. We all have 24 hours. I make sure I manage my clock. Mm-hmm. I make sure I manage my clock. So this part of my day was wealth management. But if that's all wealth management, then that's my whole value to this society. That's why we have burnout. That's why we have people, getting addicted and all those other kind of things. I wanted my brain to be creative, and I knew I had other gifts. Mm-hmm. And I could sing, and I knew music, and I loved what my brother was doing. And so if you, like today, even today in this kind of time period, for a person my age, you look at your screen time on your phone, and I average 13 and a half hours a day on my screen time. Well, that's the stock market, watching. That's the communication with sync and listening to music, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So I could be working and listening to music during the day, mm-hmm. and it was relaxing, but at the same time, it was my work. Mm-hmm. And if something suddenly resonated with me, I'm like, hey, we need to check this out. And then I just take off 2 days, go to the studio, come to my place in Nashville and be at the condo. We go to the studio. In the morning, I would sit there and I'd get my client stuff in. And more importantly, and I believe this with all my heart, and I think that's what you did, especially with Russ. And I still remember that story where you told me, he came in and said, you're going to take over this. And you go, I don't know how to do that. And he goes, yeah, you're going to figure it out. You're going to be just fine. I'm out of here.
And his famous phrase, do what you do. Okay, go ahead.
Do what you do. So I built a team. Mm-hmm. And I learned a long time ago to really climb Mount Everest, it's never been a person by themselves. It's always a team.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And I live my strengths and I outsource my weaknesses.
Wow.
In the music business, my strength was my ears. Yeah. I really had the ability to feel a song and say, good songs make me go broke, great songs make me money.
Good, well put.
Well,
absolutely.
Man, that's so good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. That's crazy.
Are you working now?
I'm always working. Trust me when I tell you. That's the other thing, Harold. You always taught balance and fun. You always brought fun around your environment.
I did.
But you were always working. It's that sneaky work.
Yep.
He knew how to create an enviment to bring out the best of people.
Absolutely.
And give them their control and let them go while still being in control. And there's a gift of that. And there's so many stories that I can still remember from the standpoint it's got to be a song, from make sure that, you're looking at the audience, to the tapping of the foot, to I'm looking for a great song that's a good song. And so there was these steps that you were allowing people to follow. And that would be my challenge for anybody that wants to binge watch this podcast is we get hung up in the leaves and branches of anything.
We do.
The business, I could do this, I could do that. I need to network with this person. I need to do this listening room thing. I need to do all this stuff. He taught me there was about 5 or 6 roots to music. If you miss those, you're going to waste a lot of time, money, energy, and effort. Yep. And so if people will accept what they can accept, including with this AI world and all that, we got a strong opinion of that. It's still not going. I told a guy that's one of my friends, Percy Beatty, he was one of the co-writers of I Believe I Can Fly, and he's really hung up with a couple other my great friends about AI. And I said, you guys are worrying about something? AI is going to be a great competitor for good songs.
Yep.
Write a great song.
Well put. I couldn't agree more.
It's going to cut to the bottom. So
yep.
I've just always learned from the footsteps in your, that you placed out in front. The ones I followed have always been true. The ones I went out on my own, I tripped and stumbled pretty hard.
I only had one problem with that. He got me drinking tequila when I was married the first time.
Can I tell you? Can I tell him a tequila story?
Sure.
We're down in Florida. They're at my brother's place. And he liked coming to Florida. He had his condo. You've been there. He had his condo on the beach. Beautiful condo. Typical Harold Shedd style.
Yep.
Like just really tricked out, beautiful, Playboy house, Yep. The boys and I want to come down and hang out with Tim, and why don't you come out and we're going to, so no problem. I got out there. Well, he and the boys, as you know, they kind of like tequila. A lot.
Still do.
Yeah.
And so his tequila shot is that. Yep. Everybody else's is that. So he's having his tequila, and night gets a little long, and I don't drink or don't drink much. If I do, and I surely don't shoot tequila. And he says, Tommy, come here a minute. He said, me and the boys we probably had a little too much to drink tonight. And we're going to kind of get on back to the condo and got a driver. If you don't mind, just pick up the bill and I'll pay you tomorrow. I said, I got you, man. I'm managing your money. I'm charging you a bunch of money. Don't worry about it. I got you. This is mid-'80s now. Put the numbers together. We were talking about numbers earlier and bringing them to today's time value. So I get over to the bartender and I look. And I said, hey, this just Harold's bill? He said, yeah. He said, when he comes in town, we order some extra for him. I was like, you got any of it left? Is this for the whole weekend or this for tonight? He goes, no, this is for tonight. I said, did you get some zeros wrong? He goes, no. I said, so Harold drank $1,800 of tequila tonight? He said, quote, that was an easy night time. That's a small one. And so I learned not to pick up the tequila.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, my God. That's crazy.
Well,
Today's episode was brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks, PopChevy.com, and the Kent Rose Foundation. This episode is also brought to you by theforkend.com.
when I first met him, he invited me to come by the house, and I got this guy. Not only is he a teacher and a lecturer, but he's a mentor to so many people. And Tommy, you correct me if I'm wrong, but so I went to Tommy's house. He lived in Birmingham at the time. Rapped on the door, opened the door, and there's 9 professional football players in there.
Wow.
And I asked Michelle, and who are all these people? Well, Tommy mentors pro athletes also,
Yep.
I thought, my goodness, how does he do all of this stuff?
Yeah, man.
How does he know all this stuff? And as it turned out, if I remember correctly, at that time, I think there were maybe 70 or 80 professional football players that you had mentored,
Wow.
taught, and they're teaching, they're working out, doing all these things, and of course then he manages their money.
Yeah, man.
He saves them, he makes them, and then saves them.
Sure.
So that's just another thing. I don't think you.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I was going. I actually did know a little, not as much as you know about, but I was going to go there next and ask him how he did that. But yeah, you told me that story. I remember that story. So talk about that. I mean, thanks for bringing that up, Harold. I'm glad you brought that up.
Tommy was a coach. He was a winning coach also.
Wow.
The whole thing is
Tommy is a winner.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.
I think we all are. Winners surround winners, period.
Thank you.
You want to become a winner? Look at your 5 closest friends.
Yep.
If your 5 closest friends are complaining and not working and not doing anything productive, chances are you're going to be having a tough time.
That makes sense.
So I always surrounded myself. I got a couple belief systems. We'll talk about the football, but I got a couple belief systems that I just do.
Yeah.
And one is, if I'm going to do anything in life, whatever it is, I find at least 3 people. This is a principle process. I find at least 3 people that is doing it at the level I want to do it, and I try to build a relationship with them. Success leaves clues. I don't want to figure it out myself. I want to find out exactly. So if I interview 3 people, they're going to talk and they're going to tell 10 different ways. But if I sit and listen, each one of them are going to say 5 things exactly the same. And that's my Bible. That's my principle. Wow. I'm going to ignore everything else everybody says except you said exactly 5 things. He said exactly those 5 things. He said exactly 5 things. And I focus on that for at least 18 months. I'm not going to bring my thoughts into it. Well, that allowed me to go from total ridiculous poverty where I grew up to, I told my sister, I'm going to be a multimillionaire by the time I'm 30. Called her up and I said, I've done it. And she said, what? I said, I'm a millionaire. Because we were broke. She said, unless you're going to give me some money, don't ever tell me that again. I said, see you later. Bye. And I was 34. And right prior to meeting Harold, I was 34. And I recognized that having a bunch of money and being broke felt exactly the same. That was the reality. I had my midlife crisis at 34. Everybody's chasing, and I'd already caught at such a young age. And I said, this is all life is? I'm going to do more and more and more of this? That's terrible. I got to figure out something to do. So I decided to give back. And I walked out on a youth football team. We don't have any children. Walked out on a youth football team, and this guy to help a buddy of mine. And I was just going to give back to the community. And the little kid, 11 years old, said, you're going to be our coach. And I said, I don't know. I'm just out here checking it out. And he said, well, you seem pretty cool. I hope you are, but don't expect anything. We're a bunch of losers. Growing up where I came from, I'd been told I was a loser. You know, wrong side of the tracks, wrong everything. So I thought that was going to be my destiny. And I said, you know what? I don't know how many football games we're going to win, but you're never going to call yourself a loser again. But I believe in principles. So I'm managing some really successful football people, not the athletes, coaches. I was managing some money. So I went to them and said, if you were going to have a youth football program, what would it look like? And they told me. So I went out with this group of kids that had won 1 ball game and tied 1 ball game the 2 years as 9-year-old and 10-year-olds, getting beat by 30 points a game, thinking they're losers. And we did a very controversial discipline program in that same group of kids playing against the same teams. We beat our opponents 357-12.
Wow.
1 team scored on us all year.
Wow.
I went undefeated that year. The next year, next group of 10-year-olds, undefeated. The next year, undefeated. Then they asked me to come to high school. I said, I'm a financial advisor. What are my clients going to think? Well, they're going to think I care about people. Went to high school. We won 15-0, won the state championship. Went 13-2 and won the state championship. I've coached 5 years and had 5 championships.
Wow.
Now suddenly people saying, you're a football coach. And I'm like, no, I'm not a football coach. I'm a financial consultant / music guy / whatever.
I'm a music guy.
Exactly. Meaning we are whatever we put our minds to it. And we're capable of doing so much more.
We are.
Because we put ourselves in a box of only, and I never wanted to be only. And I would call it like, today they'd put me on Ritalin, right? ADHD. No, I gave each one of my personalities something to do.
Sure.
Right? It's like I gave each one of my personalities a job description, right? Yeah. And one of my kids blew out his knee. And he said, this is all I got. And I said, no, it's not all you got. We'll figure it out. So I went out, found a lot of people that had blown out knees and said, how'd you rehab yourself back? Brought them into my house, and we started with 10 kids. 9 of them got college scholarships. Wow. That ended up growing to over 100 kids. I built a gym at my home, didn't charge them, and over 100 kids came and trained with us, over 100, that went on to the next level. Wow. From that basement, 2 of our kids appeared against each other in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And that's what dreams are about. The only girl I took is still out on the tour right now, and she's number 11 in the world in women's tennis.
Wow.
I got to coach at the U.S. Open. So I believe all things are possible. I believe you put your mind to it and focus. Well, how do we do all those things? I separate my day into basically 3 jobs. If you have directional focus and you really focus, you can do so much in 4 hours that people don't do in 10.
Agreed.
And all I do is once that part of my life is done, I don't let that end the next section of my life. That doesn't have a priority. And so I don't know. I guess I lived 3 or 4 lives all at the same time, never trying to do anything except be me.
Wow.
That's it, baby.
Well, yeah, man, that's cool.
That's so good,
cool.
Tommy.
You know, that's the thing. I mean, you know, giving back is so important. I need to do better, but that's so cool, man. I applaud you for that. Well,
it gives back, right? It gives back. I never thought they were going to be in the Super Bowl. Right. I never thought they'd be making pro money. I never thought. And right now, we're about to launch a program where we're going out and starting to speak to a group of colleges about being a responsible athlete in these kind of time periods, NIL and all those kind of things. You know, there's a whole different flavor we need to put into that, and education is power.
Yep.
And so the amount of knowledge, I'll back up just a second. People say, what's next left with AI and how it's going to replace 50% of the jobs and all those kind of things? The next 6 years, you guys are going to have the most power you ever have. Do you know the power you have with the intellectual capacity and critical thinking that you've got?
Yep.
It's not there yet. It's got to learn all that stuff. Yep. And it's got to learn it from people like you guys. Y'all have the most power in music that you've ever had because everybody's now doing it wrong. And the old way is still the right way. It's still tour. It's still merch. It's still great songs, not good songs. It's still developing artists. We did an artist showcase, and they didn't even know they didn't know what a TV track was. Yep. They didn't know how to hold a mic. They didn't know how to work a stage. They knew how to do a TikTok video. They knew, and all that's great, but that's not how you make the stardom.
Sure.
And that's not how you get to the next level. So I just think it's a season that these podcasts, and I thank, you guys for doing this with Harold, because the knowledge he has given me over the years and allowing me then to take that knowledge and invest it into other people's lives. I was with Harold and we were at Toby Keith's concert, and there was 10,000 people going crazy. And I stopped Harold and I said, Harold, have you ever stopped to look at your impact? And he goes, no. I said, stop and look around. And he goes, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I said, no, you're missing the point. That's happened at Reba's show. That's happened at Shania's show. That's happened at the Kentucky Headhunter show. That's happened. Do you know how many lives that you made? Songs that they could cry to, they could laugh to, they could dance to, they could get married to. Do you know the impact you made on this world? Because one of the greatest impacts is music. Yep. And that's the ultimate music man. So I have been super honored to have been able to be mentored by what I think is the best in music.
Me too. Me too. And if we put everybody together, it'd be a line out that door and down the street. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You guys, he's too much.
How did you guys meet? You didn't tell me how you met, did you?
He was in the club with my brother. My
That's
brother,
right, you did.
My brother said, my brother is one of the top, fortunately and blessedly and humbly, I was considered one of the top investment advisors in the country according to Forbes and Barron's. And he said, I might need somebody like that. And so I drove up and I went into the label and went upstairs and we talked a little bit. He went and showed me the real estate that we probably shouldn't have sold. And, he had all the real estate that you guys had accumulated, and he had the big house and all that stuff and so we just started putting pieces together. And then when he said, I kind of want to start unwinding this a little bit, then our life shift from being the music guy to the person that wanted to downsize. Now, ironically enough, we're at a season where it's time to do something. He's so humble, he doesn't want it, but there's a museum going up that we're extremely excited about. It's going to need to be funded. It's going to need to be supported. It's going to need to be all those things. But this history, we'll save whales. We will save frogs. We'll do whatever. Music is in jeopardy, in real jeopardy of never being the same again.
Right.
Right? Well, that's important and not important because we believe generations don't have gaps. Generations always progress. So it's progressing. Music's progressing. But you can progress, but you can never, ever forget the legacy. It's important for the kids that'll be writing music 25, 30, and 40 years from now to be able to walk in and experience where music really, truly, why they called it Music Row.
Yep.
And there's only about 10 names that we all know that you can name that's Music Row, and that's one of them.
Yep.
If you wanted to make it in music, Harold Shedd was a name that could change your life with one single yes.
Yep.
Change your life. And the lives that he chose to change, which is what's so amazing to me, is the lives that other labels didn't want to take risk on.
Yep.
And he taught me to take risk outside the box. And we have to take that legacy and put it in the museum, put it in Bremen, Georgia, so people can go, touch, listen, feel, and they got to understand the music. Get emotional. The music's not why I love this man. The music's not why I love this man.
Get it.
If you listen to every one of these podcasts, that's leadership.
Yep.
And that matters to me.
And honest.
And honest, brutally honest, painfully honest sometimes.
Yep.
But leadership has to be preserved.
Yep.
That's what has to be preserved. So if you want to know what leadership looks like in all aspects of life, when I heard him before saying, I got these guys and we were struggling and we were just teenagers and I had a 14-year-old playing bass, and what did I do? I took a big risk and I went out, and our friend says, well, $200 is like $2,500. He was able to take risk and maximize it with what other people didn't see as value.
Yep.
And we all have value. He took people that was not perceived as value in Nashville and proved Nashville incredibly wrong.
Absolutely. You know, we've talked about on here before about that. You know, that was the thing about Harold, and I've said this a million times. For those 11 years I was with him, as things were, you know, he was signing this act and that act, and I could go through all of them. I won't. But of course, I was ingrained in the community and knew everybody. And Harold would say, man, it's like when he played me Billy Ray or Shania or any of that stuff. And it would be a couple weeks later, he'd either done the deal or getting ready to do the deal, and the phone calls would come into me because I was way in the community from publishers and people around town, other record labels. And I'd get a phone call and be somebody from another label where they'd say, man, I heard Harold's going to sign so-and-so. And I'd say, yeah, I think he's going to do it. And they'd say, he's lost his mind this time. I can't tell you the number of times I heard that. He's lost his mind this time. You know, it's like, and every time they said it, it was Shania or Billy Ray or Toby or the Kentucky Headhunters. You know, you can go on and on and on. KT was the first one, yeah. And when I first heard about her, even I hadn't heard any of the songs yet. But Larry is first when I was first coming up, told me about her, and I said, I don't know if that'll work or not. And when they played me those demos, that was the deciding factor for me to come up there and go to work was KT. That ended up not being demos, but you called them demos at the time. Yeah. And I went, that is so far outside, it absolutely kills me. And, you know, and again, they thought he was a nut. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean a little bit of a nut. They thought he was crazy.
I think in a lot of ways he's taught all of us to be crazy about what we believe.
Sure.
And that's what he had. He had a passion, and he was willing to risk it.
Yep.
And I heard this guy that's a billionaire, and he was on TikTok, and I was listening to it, and they said, how did you make it to being a billionaire from a millionaire? And I don't care about B's and M's. It's hard enough to get an M, but, the B. And he says, the mistake that people, this is so important. He said the mistake that people make is once they start having a little success, they quit betting everything on them. Keep betting on yourself and betting on yourself and betting on yourself.
We damn sure did that.
You did, and look at what it did.
We did.
You know, thank God they don't remember us for our misses. Right. Because I had a bunch of those.
But that's part of the game.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. And that's why you can be successful is you're willing to take the misses and put them in the right perspective to get to the wins. And I still get back to people trying to get people to understand Harold throughout the whole process, and that it thing we're talking about. You said it. I felt it. I was intimidated. I've never been intimidated by any man. I'm on Wall Street, for God's sakes. Harvard, Yale, MIT, all these incredible egos and power player. His persona, that it thing. I would walk in a club with him. I would walk in a restaurant with him, and the entire room would change.
Yeah.
The entire room would change.
Yep.
Everybody knew his power.
Yep.
That he just humbly acted like wasn't even there. And it was like you were with Elvis when you were him. Mm-hmm. Like there was a different feel in the room and a different energy in the room. And I have watched so many trying to be artists just fall on their face trying to figure out how to even get to say hello to him. And he was never that guy. He was so open to everybody.
Yep.
And it's never gone away. And so where I was leading to with that, we went year before last, Alabama's being awarded it was at the BMI Awards, or what was
BMI.
it? BMI Awards.
Randy was getting Lifetime
Achievement Award. Everybody's there. All the stars are there. All the big names, and I won't mention any names, but they're all kissing and moving. I'm sitting there with him. From the stage, Randy says, "And tonight we have Harold Shedd with us." The entire room lit up. And for the next 45 minutes, I had to sit there with a revolving door of people coming by, from 17-year-olds wannabes to all the people that you guys were right there beside doing it. That history has to be collected.
Yep.
That's what has to be collected. People have to watch the podcast. Wade, that we thank you for the production and all your team that you're doing. But what you're capturing, I always hope somebody could, because he doesn't like talking, as you can tell, until 2 glasses of tequila. That's why I tried to get him to do a shot right before we came on. And then the stories fly. Harold, if you had to lay it down to just one thing that you're most proud of about the music industry, not even your part, what does music really mean to all of us? What is the purpose of music?
Wow. Well, I guess I would have to say what it meant to me.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for the few people that I met, like you, in the business, that told me things and gave me tidbits that gave me a different view of the business than what I had. I feel like I do have a talent for hearing songs, and I've never signed an artist just because they were a good singer. I've always, and this is really tacky, but I've always tried to sign people that I thought were stars, if that means anything to you. So, and only thanks to Mr. Richard B. Asher, Dick Asher, who was president of Mercury Polygram North America, for giving me the opportunity to do that. Because when I went to Mercury, and our lawyer that put all of that together was here earlier. But when I went to Mercury, I asked him, he was my boss, and he had signed, he was such a great music man. He had signed John Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, all.
That's a few.
He was making more money than the president running the whole corporation, so they eased him out, But I asked him, I said, "What do you expect of me? And what do you want me to do at Mercury?" He says, "I want Mercury to be a viable country music company in Nashville." And I said, "How do you think I should start that?" He said, "Well, first of all, I want you to restructure the roster." And then I got thinking about that, and I realized here's my opportunity to have the power to do something that I've really always wanted to do, and that's to be able to, if I see or hear something I really love, I can help it. I can sign it, and I can see if I'm right, kind of a thing. So the industry and some of the people that I met that made the difference, like Mr. Asher and Jerry Bradley, who was president of RCA at the time, those would be the things that their careers and what they did. He worked for Clive Davis when they started, as you heard today, when they started Arista. So he's like you. He knew everything. I didn't know anything. I knew the words to the national anthem, and that was about it. And but the music part, Music Row, the music part of Nashville, I guess, was two of the things that really made a difference in my life. That, and then in October '88, when I signed the contract with Mercury, that I could, from that day on, not have to worry about money, budgets, anything.
That's a pretty dangerous bet. But I gotta tell this, and Russ knows this, and Wade knows as well.
And I'm not good at explaining things.
But here's the beautiful part: they had just lost a major country player off their roster.
That's right.
It wasn't like it was going up. It looked like the country side of it was going down.
They just lost Johnny Cash.
Thank you. I didn't know if I could say that name.
Yeah.
So they just lost the legend, and they're giving you a job that probably nobody would want. But here's the beautiful part: when you took it over, they were doing what in country side of the revenue?
The year I took it over, it did $8 million.
$8 million.
This is $1988. Okay, go ahead.
$1988. 4 years later, what did they do?
$70 million.
Somebody needs to just, mic drop. Somebody needs to applaud right here.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. So that's the part that blew me away as a business guy. I know what it's like to take over a company that's going in the wrong direction and to do a turnaround play that takes them from there to the numbers you're talking about is history. That's what needs to be documented. Nobody talks about just the music side of it.
And
there's a humble business guy.
In all honesty, there were about 20 other people that helped me do that. I searched and hired people that not to do all of these things, but this specific thing. That's what you do. You're not A&R, you're not promotion, you're not marketing, you're this. And I was able to assemble a group of people like Russ. Russ was a huge, huge asset.
100%.
Yeah. And I was able and was in a position to do that. And so I have to give the credit to all these guys, especially the promotion and marketing people.
And I'll say two things about that. Number one, and this has been since I've known him, that's leadership. I've never seen him take credit, and I've seen him turn it around to his team, which is what great leaders do.
Absolutely.
Period, from A to Z, and I love that so much. And we see the capture of his growth because of his music and all those things. But he just said something I've never heard you say. You made sure everybody stayed in their lane. I would love your comment and your comment. Do we think that's one of the things wrong with the label today? I go inside the label today and I don't know who's marketing. I don't know who's developing. I don't know who. It's so, nobody's on the same page.
Yep.
Do you think that's one of the reasons they're having such trouble economically?
I think it's a lot of factors. I think it's some of that. But I think a lot of it is, from what I can tell, is leadership that they, in my opinion, is pure business. There's no A&R is what's missing today. And as you know, artists are expected to be A&R people on their own and get to a certain point, and that is partner up now. Nobody says, I know you got nothing going on like he did. I've come to see you. I know that you're doing what you do. And there's a great story, and he can finish telling it if you want, because I'll probably get it wrong. A great example is an artist that he went to see and said, I'm going to put a little deal together for you. And the artist said, okay. He said, man, he said, by the way, I'm like 5 payments behind on my trailer. Anything, I mean, I'm kind of in a bind right now from the very beginning. Am I getting this right?
That's right.
And as I understand it, you wrote him a check that night. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I gave him cash.
You gave him cash, okay.
I had a little cash in my pocket.
And this guy's not only in the Songwriters Hall of Fame in Nashville song, he's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame in New York with Hoagie Carmichael and all the greats. Went on and had an incredible career, but it was not based on, well, let me run some numbers here. Let me get my calculator real quick.
Right.
It was this.
Yeah.
It was this. And I feel in today's world, as far as I can see, nobody's doing that part anymore. A&R guys that were true A&R guys, and he wasn't the only one.
No.
He's one of the very biggest ever, obviously, right in the very top. But there were people, even if they didn't do it as good as him, there was somebody that was trying to do that in those days. And again, I feel like I'm slamming the new world, and I don't mean to. No. I just don't know that it's the same business anymore. And people do that. He never sat down and ran a calculator and said, "Yep, numbers match up. I'm going to sign you." Ever.
But he always talks about those people would tell him, you can't do this, you can't do that. And he's like, I don't care about all that.
That's right.
Do you love this song?
That's my whole thing with him. Yeah.
And there's nobody that's just sitting down with him saying, I don't care about any of that. I love this.
I just want to know if you love this. And I'd say absolutely.
So taking it from $7 million or $8 million to $70 million, and somebody in New York fired him because he didn't know what he was doing, it's full of those people now.
Yeah.
Well, I think what also you look at that standpoint, and that just made me think about the investment in the artists themselves. And we say music has to be written to be heard. That hasn't changed a lot. I mean, it really, truly hasn't. Music has to be performed to be heard. That's artist development. Mm-hmm. And that's not happening. It's such an important
That's
step.
Real kind of sad to me in a way, because I think Shania might be the only artist left on Mercury that I signed.
Wow.
Toby left.
Wow. Yeah.
Billy Ray
left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some passed away. But we did things, and I have to mention one other guy that was, if I was going to start a record label today, the first guy I would call would be Paul Lux, who was the general manager at Mercury. He was, I couldn't have had a better GM than he was. Yep. That's what I mean by yep. I had some people around me, not just at the label, but people I had left and that Russ brought in after I left at the music mill. I mean, I could walk a block and I'm right where I just left, I'm among 10, 15 of the most talented people in the business, and they are helping me, So that's real sad to me. And this is not meant to boast, but the gentleman they brought in to, I shouldn't say gentleman, the guy they brought in to replace me never signed an act at Mercury. And now Mercury has no acts.
Right.
They're back where we were in '88.
So the risk-taking part is real.
So I know technology, but technology to me is a plus. I look at it as a plus.
Yep.
Even though I still love the cassette format, and I still listen to CDs, but people that buy and listen to music have not changed as much as the people that are feeding them the music,
Yep.
So and I don't mean to sound tacky, but this is what I think. You'll never offend anyone by making their life better than it is or giving them something that will help do that. Give something better than they got. People will accept that. And I think if CEOs, especially label heads, would look at their business plan, and you don't have to throw it out the window, but maybe redo it just a little bit. We could make music again, not like it used to be, but we could make it better and more viable and more acceptable.
Yep.
If you got the call today to run a label, would you take it?
Yes.
Hang on. I made notes today around something else. Yeah.
Well, I would. I would, because I still think I can make a difference.
I do too.
You do. You make a difference everywhere you go, and that's what we're talking about.
You know, it's funny. The biggest thing, again, to me, and you've mentioned it, and you do it. We mentioned your mentorship and everything, and how important that is. I've always referred to him as my mentor, and I'm not the only one. You know that.
As well.
And I got to say that we talked about those music mill days and just how great it was, and the camaraderie and everything. And you mentioned it. That atmosphere he had created well before I got there, and we continued it. And the greatest compliment I probably had in the past 20 years was on one of our early podcasts. Somebody who's doing very, very well right now in Nashville. That's working at a big label and stuff, an independent, but doing very well. Came on our podcast, and we were talking about that stuff. And he said, "You know what?" He said, "I feel like I worked at the music mill." He said, "Coming up under Russ." And he worked at our publishing company. He said, it felt like the same thing that you're describing the music mill. Well, how could it not be? That's what I knew. That's what I knew. And I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like the greatest compliment you could ever give me.
And he's doing so well right now.
Yeah, he really is.
I'm proud of him.
But I'm really proud of that. And it started there,
culture.
And I was able to carry that with me and move on. And I repeat a lot of the phrases he said to me. They're not unique to me, but they're ingrained in me, and I that's what I thank him for the most, more than anything in the whole world. Yeah.
I do as well, and I quote Harold and Andrew. My entire team knows it. I quote Harold comments more than any other person in music. He has been, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. On a personal note, though, I couldn't do this thing without telling some of the funny stuff, and we have a lot of laughter, and we have a lot of fun. I'd love to get him in the car, and he still sings good, by the way. He's a good singer, but he's a big car guy.
But not good enough.
He's a big car guy. He's a big car guy. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching TV one night, and Toby was on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and they were talking about, I just bought these 2 cars from Harold and stuff. So Harold's a big car guy. And there was a time when I was a big car guy. Not like Harold, but I was a big car guy.
That's because you loaned your cars to Harold. Go ahead now.
Yes, and that's the last nice car I've ever bought. And so I had a special edition Mercedes, Brabus Mercedes, that was just gorgeous, man. It was just gorgeous. Had it flown, I had it shipped into Miami before I got it, tricked out. It was one of 4 in the Southeast. It was just, literally Rick Ross, Lil Wayne tried to buy it from me in Atlanta, Georgia, on site, right? And this thing was premier. It was beautiful. And Harold, I love that car so much, man. I love that car. I'm like, well, Harold, just, I won't buy it from you. I said, no. I said, not. So I literally had let it sit so long in the driveway, not driving it, or in my car garage, that the wheels were starting to get out around on it, right? So one day he's down there. I said, man, just take the thing. Just give me whatever you want to give me, but, put it in your will. When you pass away, I want the car back.
Yeah.
I want you to have the car, but, And man, he had it he got it tricked out. It was looking beautiful, gorgeous. How's the car? Oh man, this thing's great. This thing's great. Well, I did the deal when he was about, I don't know, late 70s.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I realize I'm gonna get back an antique. He won't die. He won't die. I'm never gonna get my car back. I'm like, what happened to my car? And that one day he calls me up and he said, Tommy. I said, yes, sir. He said, I got something to tell you. I got some bad news. I'm thinking anything, right? He says, I kind of wrecked your car. I said, what? You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. How's the car? Well, it didn't get through it too good. I said, how bad? He says, it's totaled. So that's the last specialty car I've ever owned in honor of Harold.
Awful call to make.
I never got the Mercedes back.
That's like saying I got to drop you,
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Oh,
But
How are you?
see, that's another thing about Tommy, when I told him, I said, if you ever sell it, I want to buy it. And, well, he did that, and he not only did he buy a Mercedes, this is how he thinks. He bought a $124,000 Mercedes, and then put another $35,000 package on that. So he had $55,000 automobile. And it looked like that. It looked that good, Well, everywhere I ever stopped that car,
They didn't know what it was.
come in and they'd walk around it and look, what kind of car is that? Well, it's a Mercedes. Wow. Well, where'd you get those wheels? I says, they were on it when I got it.
Wow. Wow.
But
There wasn't a Mercedes emblem on it.
yeah.
Wow.
It was all
I don't
Roberts.
know how we got off on all that, but
No, it's a cool story. It's fun.
Tommy's like we were in that he doesn't settle for second best. He wants to fly the plane, and he does, and that's what you got to do. Or the view never changes if you're not out front.
Yep.
I don't want anything someone else has got musically.
Yep.
I want to create something that somebody wants for themselves.
Amen.
I want them to want what I did, not,
See, those are the statements that just get me in my heart.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
I know Andrew just wrote that down, and I do a little blurb on it.
Yeah.
What'd you say about you
The
can't,
view never
the
changes.
view never changes.
Yeah.
unless you're out
Unless
front.
you're out front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem with music. People are trying to repeat what somebody has done, and nobody wants
Yeah.
to be creative.
Boy,
Here's your problem.
yeah, let's
Answered it.
Let's
Yeah.
do one of those.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
there's
do
already one of those.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know what I got? That reminds me of a Tony Hazelton story real quick. I don't think you ever,
I
did
don't
you
know
meet
him.
Tony?
No, I don't know
Tony,
him.
we had a bunch of hits with. Tony was a world-class
You would have
guitar
loved.
player.
You would have loved Tony.
Wrote It Ain't Nothing, Keith Whitley by himself. Wrote Mama Knows. Wrote That's My Story with Leroy. Wrote a bunch of hits. Had a band called Louisiana's LaRue. If you remember them, they had a bunch of pop hits.
Know 'em super well.
New Orleans ladies.
was
New
a big,
Orleans Ladies,
was
what a song.
Was a big session player in the 70s on pop records. Just a talented guy and the best guy in the world. We were all like, bro. I mean, we were that close. And Tony passed here last year, but we were talking one day at the music mill, and I forget how it happened. We've been up there laughing, and Harold had to run out, and he got his satchel and left. And somebody said something about his shoes. He was wearing some shoes, and he said, well, thanks, I got these on. And he left. And I said, man, that's crazy. I said, wonder what happened if Harold had got in the shoe business. And without even a blink, Tony said he'd have been Tom McCann.
100%.
Swear to God.
100%.
And I went, you're
100%.
right. That's
100%.
absolutely right. He would have been,
And it shows up in everything.
Yeah.
The houses that he builds,
Yep.
the door that he puts on his houses. I mean,
Yep.
it's in everything that he does. In a world of sameness, how uniquely different. That's why Harold was the cutting edge. He's uniquely different as a music guy.
Yep.
And I just think that there's so much, and I'll keep going back to me, there's so much that's still to be today. The interview that I heard prior to, even now. There's not a time I've not sat down with you, Harold, that it's not made an impact like that one sentence, and I looked over at Andrew and saying, make sure you take that down. As we start this new company that I'm just starting, and we just did the book that you're talking about, and we're out on this tour, that statement's going to be said so many times the rest of my life.
Wow.
Because that's the way that's the part that's missing in our country, period. We become followers. We become followers. It's about follow me, like me, all those things. That's not leadership. My job is not to get you to like me. My job is to get you to be the best you can be, and you can't be that being comfortable. And I love what you said. That statement is just going to be one of those ones that I take. And so there's never not a Harold Shedd moment.
Sure.
You know, that to me, taking me behind the shed, that whipped my butt a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's leadership.
Yeah.
I thought I was saying some stuff. That's what we got to hear. That's why we do the podcast. That's why we're committed to doing this museum. People need to not just hear the music. They have to discover what makes people successful again.
Absolutely. And, you know, as we say that, I had this thought because we were talking about the way the music business is today, and people that did his job and were all this, they were curators. They curated all the stuff that worked. That was their job, curate the magic. And it strikes me that Harold did that in his personal life with his, you know, with all of us. He curated a group of people that are certain kind of people, you know, just us four sitting here, you know. He did that even in life and with people. So
and doing it now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love what you said, curator to be a creator.
Yeah.
You can't,
I didn't say that. That's good. That's even better.
I mean, a curator to be a creator.
Yeah.
And give me an environment for me to springboard.
Absolutely.
Give me an environment to make me better.
Absolutely.
And that's really to get to this next stage we're going to go through as we go through this paradigm shift of economics as well as people, as well as you know, right now, you just look at the stats of where we are as people and stuff. We still have the ability to do something amazing in the future. Mm-hmm. And I did not like history in school. Now I'm learning how silly that was, because history is going to repeat itself.
Same.
And the history that's inside of him is needed right now more than ever before to get to the place we're going to get to. And it'll look different, like he said. It'll evolve, but it won't evolve until we take those kind of risks, till we be a curator.
Yep.
You know, the first time I met you, I was blown away by your intellectual capacity. I'm like, what I was expecting from a publishing guy.
Me?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't get that a lot.
And Wade knows it. Wade knows it. He's very. I told Harold, first time I really got to spend time with you, I was like not expecting that as a music publisher. No offense to the music publishers out there. I just wasn't expecting that. And I was like, whoa, he can talk third dimension, you know, whatever you want to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. I think that's the beauty of where your team was. There was a high level of humbleness, but a high level of intellectual capacity to think.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
You know, I guess we can talk whatever we want to.
It is your show.
But if you say, would you go to a label? Yeah. And you know what? The first thing I would do would be put together a business plan, and I would go to the top 25 markets, and all of them probably got up to a dozen radio stations in them. And one of those 25 stations, or two of them, are not doing very well. You know, they're not very well run, and they're making no money. So I would go to the top 25 markets, and I would buy 25 radio stations. I'd buy one in each of those markets that's not doing well. And I was telling Russ, I used to be intrigued with programming when I got to pull my own music and select what I was going to play. And I didn't play all country music. I played Ray Price. I'd tell him, I'd say I'd play Ray Price, and then I would play Since I Met You Baby, you know, by Ivory Joe Hunter. And then from that, you can go to I Can't Stop Loving You by Ray Charles. Then from that, you can go to There Goes My Everything by Jack Green. And then from that, you can actually go to Love Letters in the Sand by Pat. I mean, you can make this programming even with all the stuff we have now and some new things that I don't really know about, but I know there are some jewels because people are making a lot of money doing it. So you could create a format and get a program director that understood what you were trying to do and put this plan together and create a totally new audience that loved music and loved all kinds of music, you know.
I think, first of all, I think it's genius, but that's what, we do our show. First Note does a show, and it's multiple artists, multiple genre, and the stage changes, and you've been to some of the shows. Stage changes after every 5 songs to a new artist, but a new genre. And the reason I did it is we listen to music on shuffle. So really it's about the consumer always. I mean, that's what finance taught me. Yeah. And the consumer wants good music. They don't necessarily need to be, I have to listen to all country, I have to listen to all pop, I have to listen to all R&B.
They want to hear something good.
They want to hear something good, and they want to keep their mind fresh. Now, because of things like Spotify and all the other listening places you can go, that algorithm that's feeding you, because you're listening to different music, it's going to feed you a shuffle. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be one genre driven, period. I think there's a place for sure out there that an audience wants good music on a consistent basis.
My theory is it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
100%.
Yep.
So it can be done. It could be done. But
the boys are back
I'm way, I'm past all that now. But I won't ever. I might see it, hopefully, in my lifetime. But I think radio will come back. It might be a little different than it was, but I do believe that. I don't know if you can totally wipe radio out. Well, I still listen to the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said you had this idea and you first mentioned it, I think sometime back I said, "No, you're crazy. You're out of your mind." He's lost his mind this time. Does that sound familiar? It may be time. You may be absolutely right.
What would be awesome would be a Harold Shedd XM channel.
Yeah.
No, exactly. That's
with Harold DJ.
God,
I know somebody that can help with that. We mentioned today.
I'm telling you, I think you could do that.
Would that be cool?
Wade, it would be cool. And I think you could program it and really pull in a lot of listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what you... Yeah. But that was a great thing about being a disc jockey. Back then, people would call up and request a song, and I had the opportunity to take a moment and talk to that listener and say, what do you like about that song? What makes you want to hear that song,
Yeah.
You did the hit or miss, I'm sure. Hit or miss. What's the song that you played first on your air before everybody else played that you knew was going to be a hit?
One in 1959. I'll start there. Dream Lover.
Wow.
Bobby Darin.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah. And then turned around and played Hank Lachlan, Send Me the Pillow You Dream On.
Wow. And you know it. You know when you hear it, right?
Well, I thought I did. Yeah. I did it.
No, you definitely did.
You did.
And that's still today. Mm-hmm. If you're in the music business and you do this side of it, I'll send to my team a song and go, watch this. And you very rarely miss on that watch this. Mm-hmm. It's like that song right there, that's it. And you know it as soon as you hear it. Now, plenty of good songs, but that great song, you know it as soon as you hear it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right,
well,
kids.
Before we leave, I want Tommy to talk about the book.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. We've been 2 years in the writing of it. I never thought I would write a book. That was never really a goal. I was asked, because of what we're talking about today, I do a lot of podcasts and all those kind of things. I was asked to speak about the whole rag to riches and all those kind of things. And I spoke in Chicago a handful of years back, and middle school, high school, college, inner city to literally private school. And we pass out 5x7 cards to sit there and say, stand up for your friends. And they don't know whose card they're holding, but if you're depressed, stand up if your card says that, whatever. And in 3 days, 400 young people in Chicago had turned in suicide notes or self-harm notes or addicted notes or being abused notes. Wow. And I said, is that really where we are as people? That's crazy. That makes no sense. So I started studying. 1 out of 3 people right now of any age experiencing in severe depression, anxiety, addiction, obesity, self-harm. Second leading cause of death in America right now is suicide. And nobody's talking about it. It's all mental health awareness. Those people are very aware that they're struggling. They don't need to be aware, they need to be helped.
You're
and
right.
when you look at the statistics, so much of it's not working. So I said, if I'm ever going to go out and speak again, I have to do something that gives them a pathway out. Motivation speaking is hype. When the video stops, you still are exactly where you were. And so we spent about 2 years of looking at the things that, the principles I've lived my life by, how I rebuilt my mindset from where I was born to where I was, right down to where we talk. And we built a 40-day cheat sheet to the best you can be called Living the Page. And the whole principle is you're going to have a past. We learn from it, we grow from it. We got to be able to get out of it. We can't live in it. The future, it's never going to turn out. I never thought I would be a country boy from South Alabama. Whoever thought I would be sitting with you guys. I couldn't have written that in any goal-setting situation. Mm-hmm. So we built 40 days of accountability that teaches you how to build a day. And if you can build a day, you can build a life. The book will be here May the 15th. It'll be on the shelves in June. It'll be on all the platforms, and it's called Living the Page, author Tommy Jackson.
That's awesome.
Way to
and
go.
One more thing. The reason why we're all together and we'll be traveling together this weekend is because of Curly, and he was on the podcast last year, and I would just like to have Harold say a couple words about Curly. I think it...
Watch some stories, man.
Yeah, well, Curly was a great guy. And he and another friend I lost a couple of years ago probably spent the last 15 New Year's Eves in Destin, Florida, and watched the New Year come in and laughed, drank tequila, told a lot of jokes.
Sang.
And sang. Larry Mack would get up and do Lucille and just kill him. I mean, just... and Curly was always the first guy to pick up the tab. And he was... That's where he was, where his head was and his heart was. Yeah. And so we're going to go... celebrate his life, and we're going to put his ashes in the Cimarron River and let him flow out to sea and see the world.
Cool.
But I talked to him a week before he died, and he knew he was not going to be there. Yeah. And I said, Curly, I'm looking forward to see you on May 2nd. He said, well, I don't know if I'll see you or not, but if I'm not there, I'll be looking down at you.
There you go.
And so that was the last conversation I had with Curly, and I loved him. He was a great guy, a tremendous friend, and I salute him. And
Here.
You guys.
Yeah. Here. I think we ought to end on that.
Yep.
100%.
Thanks. Tommy, thank you so much.
No, man. I cannot thank you guys as much. It's
Tom,
been such an honor, and I'm so glad I got to do this.
I want you to come back too, Tommy, and I want you to, next time, maybe get into how you got to mentoring athletes.
Me too.
Yep. Part 2 coming up.
Part 2.
How you went from, I think when I started with you, you were managing maybe $175 million, and now
It's a big number. I don't count it anymore.
it's with a B now, and so I want you to talk about that and all the great things you did with athletes, and we touched on the coaching part and all of that, but and you're also a lecturer, you're an educator, a speaker, a mentor. You're all of these things now, and you've always been that in my mind, to me. You've just helped me so much, and you pulled me out of the mud hole. And so
I'm honored to have been on the journey.
I'm grateful,
I'm
that
so grateful.
that I met you, and I don't take that lightly. I think I don't believe in luck as much as I believe in fate.
100%.
Me too.
And that's my belief mechanism. That's all I have is what I believe.
Yes, sir.
And I tell you what, I'm the same way, but I believe in the power of love. I do. I think it heals. I think it changes. And I think that's an action. And I'll come here anytime you want, as long as I can come to this incredible place that you guys get to call the Shed.
Yep.
If this is the Shed, then I wish I had one all my life. Driving up here was a dream. Thank you for
the Big East Fork.
Thank you, Big East. It's unbelievable here.
Yeah, man.
It's heaven, man.
Yeah.
This is so. What a beautiful place for me to have spent with what I call some great friends. And cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Tommy.
We thank you for coming,
Thank you.
Tommy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's episode was brought to you by Wild Bill's Fireworks, PopChevy.com, and the Kent Rose Foundation. This episode is also brought to you by theforkend.com. Tune in next week to the music station, WWCC with Harold Shedd, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Bremen, Georgia, 1440 on your radio dial. What you just heard just happened. Thank you for listening to Behind the Shed. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week as we go Behind the Shed.